Hi, I'm Chris Grimm. This is Deep Work Fast. And if you don't know me, I'm an executive coach. I've been coaching people for 28 years. Leaders, teams, people like you who want to be their best at work and at home. Each week, I publish a blog, and then I get on here for about 20 minutes or less. And I give you coaching so that you can use this whenever you need it to be the best that you can be. And this week, I want to have a conversation that not a lot of people really want to have, and it's about AI, but not the conversation everybody's having about AI. You know, some people love it, some people don't get it, some people hate it. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I want to talk about something that I don't think a lot of people were ready for, and in the past few years, it's becoming evident. And that is that AI, artificial intelligence, is not only changing, evolving, and in some cases replacing the jobs of lower level employees or highly administrative employees or people who do repetitive tasks within process. Like, I think we all knew AI was good enough to potentially completely change those jobs, if not potentially eliminate them in the organizations that wanted to do that. And that's happening. But I don't think people were ready for the changes to everyone's job. So in my coaching in organizations around the world, what we're seeing is that people are waking up to the fact that all of our jobs are in some way changing and or going to change with artificial intelligence. And if it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. And the conversation that people don't want to have about it is that there are many executives, people in powerful positions, important jobs, that don't like the idea that executive level jobs, maybe even board level positions, could change enough that they will feel irrelevant or unqualified to be in those roles. I want to talk about why that is. And this isn't just like two people talking in a rumor. This is happening all day, every day. Because artificial intelligence is already embedded in many of the tools, both software tools and devices, and non-tech industries, devices, processes. Seems to be everywhere in some way. For-profit, non-profit, government, it's here. And we still have a great deal of people, a great many, I should say, who are uninterested or unwilling, unable to leverage these tools. Now, in some ways, these tools, because they are embedded, and what I mean by embedded is that they're in our productivity software products, right? So whether you use Google or Microsoft or whatever you use, chances are there is an embedded AI assistant there for you. At the very least, you might be using them without knowing it to proofread your documents or to rewrite things and make it better. And that's the least of it. But what you may not know is that many organizations are already using artificial intelligence to gather, to analyze, to sort data, to make recommendations for decisions. I know one company, at least, that's using artificial intelligence chatbots to coach their salespeople in real time. So, this is not going away. And the conversation I want to have with you today is hopefully to give you some ideas that I've been using in coaching in the last year to help anyone who was at all resistant or felt like they didn't have time or were unsure about how this was applicable to them. So, first and foremost, for you to stay relevant and become a masterful user of artificial intelligence, you actually need to be clear about what that assistant could do to help you. Now, I'm saying this because I know a lot of leaders who don't even know how to use their human assistants well, because it takes time to think about what you want them to do. So my number one thing is you need to get clear on how you could use help. If you have not seen the Marvel movies Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. plays a character called Tony Stark, and he's a genius. And he has an artificial intelligence assistant named Jarvis. And he uses Jarvis not as like some assistant to do administrative things. Jarvis can do anything. And Jarvis makes him better. And Tony's already a genius. So, I know that's a fictional character, but it's not far from what's happening in a lot of places around the globe. For people who want to master the use of AI, now is the time. There are a ton of tutorials, and there's a lot of people probably in your life, at work and at home, who can give you ideas about how you can start to use this in a new way. So the number one thing is you have to know what you want from it. Because the way artificial intelligence often works for consumer users, I'll call it, is that you have to ask it a question. You have to give it a task so that it can help you. Now, there's other AI built into systems, most likely in your organization and in your home, by the way. AI in the background is doing something to make a process better, faster, more efficient, more accurate. Those are the things that hopefully you don't have to think too much about because you're already paying for the services or the products, and it's just going to be built in. That's why everybody's collecting data, by the way, or at least it's one reason. Because the data goes in and it makes AI smarter so that the next time you go and ask it to do something, it can actually do it better and faster than you could do yourself. So the second thing is that I'd love for you to develop AI literacy. What I mean by that is you getting a really great handle on the language, first in your own organization and in your family, right? Shared language is a first step in literacy. Like, what do these terms mean? What tools are already around me and available? What functions are available to me? That's literacy, right? It's you learning about artificial intelligence at the basic level first. And then, when you're ready, you have to practice becoming literate at anything. You probably know, but maybe you think you don't have time. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have time not to do this. You need to play with it. You need to do it when it's not like some presentation or document or something that's so important that it's time to make a decision. You need to do it in times where you can play with it and practice it and learn the ins and outs and develop a relationship with artificial intelligence that's going to help you be better. That's the whole point here, by the way. And it isn't necessarily going to take away some of the things that you need to do. It might. From a productivity standpoint, most likely it could. But you have to feel comfortable with it. You have to trust it. And for you to trust it, you have to spend time working with the tools, like I said, that are already available to you. The next thing is that you have to invest in some continuous learning for your team members and the people around you. I'm finding that in our client organizations that are outstanding at leveraging artificial intelligence, the whole team or group of people who are together using it, they have the shared language. They all know how to use, they know what tool to use for what job, right? And what not to use. I know on our team, there's a ton of AI available. I don't want everybody on a different platform. Here's one of the reasons. Because again, the more you use a tool that's artificially intelligent, the more it's learning and it's becoming a part of your brand. Like I said, we use an AI tool. It actually now has a built-in brand voice for ARIA Consulting and one for Avi Experience. That's my other business. We do retreats, if you didn't know that. That brand voice matches how we talk about ourselves on our website. That's the value of having some of these tools. But if you have everybody using different tools and there's disparate use of the tools, when to use the tools, etc., well, you're not going to get the critical mass that you would get if everybody was focused and you said to your team, we're going to use these tools to do this. We're all going to learn how to do it well. And then we're probably going to get some predictable, really great results. So it is important that that learning piece is a part of this, because none of this is going to stand still. You should know by now, technology is not standing still for any of us. And so it's going to constantly get better, exponentially better. And so the humans, one of the reasons that I'm doing this Deep Work Fast, is that that whole idea and fear of being obsolete or irrelevant, well, that will come true if you stand still while everything around you is moving. So you got to pace with it, or at least stay with it. And for some of your team members, they may get in front of it. And maybe that's just because they're going to love it and they're going to keep doing it. The other thing I want you to do is have an opinion about the ethics and the responsibility part of this, right? It is important for you to know enough to have an intelligent conversation about this. It's important, and most likely in your organization there are ideas and maybe even policy around it, and you should know. The next thing is that you need to expect that most business models in all industries will at some point evolve. Now, that was going to happen without artificial intelligence because, well, over time we as humans evolve. Our need for products and services changes over time. You probably know that. Well, you probably also are experiencing that things seem to be changing faster now. Well, of course they are. We have technology and collaborative software and apps and platforms and clouds and things that have seemingly made us work closer together more often. We are closer to our customers. We are closer to our board members. We are closer to our stakeholders and our employees. What I mean by closer is that we have real-time conversations going on. Because they're real-time, we have to respond faster than we used to. Artificial intelligence is absolutely going to continue to accelerate that. The expectations of consumers, both business to business clients and B2C clients and consumers, well, guess what? Everyone's expectations are going to continue to change and, frankly, get more demanding. Because the smarter we all get and the more tools that we have, the higher our expectations that the people around us are going to rise to whatever occasion we think they should be rising to. We've done this to ourselves, friends. So if that sounds exhausting, take a deep breath and find a way to be a part of this. I also want you to think about, regardless of where you are in your career, so you could be an early career, you could be late career. Frankly, I don't even know what that means anymore. But what I'd love for you to do is truly think about what you want for yourself and what is the trajectory of your career. And how can you use artificial intelligence tools to help you either deepen your specialty, right? Like you may have a niche. You might be really good as a salesperson, but you're excellent at small business versus enterprise. You want to use the tools, and in the AI universe that we have going on, I don't even know what to call it anymore, but there's a lot out there. You want to find ones that are completely important and essential for your job. And not just the job today, you want to project into the future. Like, what am I going to have to do in a month, in a year, in 10 years? And how can this thing help me get there so that I'm not just reliant on an old way of learning or an old way of doing business? Because like I said, these business models, they're all emerging in real time. It's all changing. I mean, strategic planning, we used to be able to make a 5 or a 10-year strategic plan. Now most organizations have like a 2-year, and most of them within 18 months are having to pivot, if not completely change. So I want you to use these tools. So again, you stay highly relevant and in front of all of those things. I also don't want you to forget that, AI, I don't think in our lifetime is going to take over for all the people. I don't. I just think it's going to be our companion, it being all of these tools and artificial intelligence offerings. And I say it that way because there are just so many flavors of artificial intelligence that are even known. We don't even know the unknown, and they're just going to keep popping up and showing up. And so it's important that you, if you are a leader, let me speak to you now, a manager, a leader, whatever role you play, it's important that you understand what requires human touch and human talent and human-led relationships, and not take for granted the importance of that as you think about the evolution of your team and your business. There are some things that artificial intelligence can't do, and I don't know if it'll ever be able to do it. Now, I'm not a person that says never, so let me be surprised, and you can be surprised too. But you have a responsibility, if you're a leader or a manager, to think about how to leverage the people and how to use the tools to make the people better. That's a really important, it's more than important, it's a critical function of leadership, right? Is you strategically thinking about the evolution of the business, the team, right? Often I use an old model that I teach leaders, but it still works, right? Strategy, structure, people, process. You've got to think about all of those things. And you as a leader now have to take into consideration what are the most essential things that we need the humans to do? And how do we ensure that all the humans, no matter what level they're in, what are jobs they're doing, that they feel confident to use the tools to help those interactions be better. The last thing I just want to say is that more and more organizations, well, they're learning some the hard way that customer obsession, customer intimacy, call it whatever you want, but knowing your customers deeply is a human job. It requires time. It requires sometimes face-to-face. It requires intention. And in this new world, because things are moving so fast, it actually requires trust building. And those are things that at the moment, the machines are not doing the way we do. So I recommend highly to you that you not just brush this off. As someone who coaches executives every day, this is one of the most important conversations you can have outside of your team learning to be data-driven. They're not exactly the same, but they are related. And we're not going back. And so regardless of the industry, regardless of where you work, how big or how small the team is, I urge you to take into consideration what I'm saying to you today. Have some fun. Find a few of these tools that are going to make you better and do it. All right. Thank you for being with me. I'm highly grateful for everyone. If you have ideas for topics that you want coaching on, you can put it down in the chat. And I'll see you next week for Deep Work Fast. Grab that blog. Don't forget it. Okay, bye.